Hi Reddit, my name is James, I am 28 years old, and I have always been the responsible one in my family. You know the type. The kid who grew up doing chores without being asked, who got his first job at 16, who paid his bills on time and helped his parents when things got rough. My younger sister Emily is 24 and more of a free spirit, which is a polite way of saying she's been through about 5 find yourself phases since college and still lives off part-time gigs. My dad, Greg, is 60 and has worked hard his entire life in construction until his back started giving out. He's a good man, but he's the kind of guy who cannot stand conflict, which is probably how we ended up with Sharon. Sharon is 43 and became my stepmother about 5 years ago. She's the kind of woman who describes herself as a natural caregiver, while simultaneously drinking caramel fraps in her pajamas at 2 in the afternoon. She is always talking about how she deserves peace and abundance, but somehow peace for her always means other people doing the hard work while she gets to post inspirational quotes on Facebook. When she and my dad got together, I was already living on my own and working as an HVAC technician. I have my own place, pay my own bills, and stop by to help my dad when he needs it, because his back pain limits what he can do around the house. For the first year or two, Sharon didn't really work. She claimed she was looking for the right opportunity and that she was meant for something more meaningful than just a job. Translation: she spent a lot of time watching daytime TV and complaining that nobody respected her energy. Then, about a year ago, she had what she called her business breakthrough. She announced that she was going to be self-employed and open a home-based childcare service. She even made a Facebook Marketplace post saying she was a home childcare provider who offered safe, nurturing, and affordable care for children. Her whole pitch was that she treated kids like her own and provided a loving environment. In reality, her idea of childcare was parking a bunch of kids in front of the TV while she scrolled TikTok on her phone. Within 2 months, she had 6 kids she was watching, all under the age of 8, because she offered a discount for parents who paid in cash. My dad thought it was fantastic. He kept saying things like, "She's finally contributing," and "She's found her calling." I just nodded because arguing with him about Sharon never ends well. At first, I didn't think much of it until my phone started ringing every few days. It was Sharon. The first time she said, "James, can you come fix the sink? One of the kids clogged it with Play-Doh." I went because my dad's back is bad, and I figured it would take 10 minutes. It turned into 45 minutes because her kitchen looked like a bomb went off. There were juice boxes everywhere, soggy pizza rolls on the floor, and kids running around half-dressed. I cleaned up a bit out of habit, fixed the sink, and left thinking, never again. That lasted exactly 3 days. Then she called again saying, "James, can you drive me to Target? I can't leave the kids here alone, and I really need diapers." I said no at first, but she kept saying, "It'll only take 20 minutes. And then my dad got on the phone and said, "Son, just help her out this once." So I went. That once turned into 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes it was errands, sometimes fixing things around the house, and sometimes she would pull the old, "Can you stay for a bit? The kids are rowdy, and I need to finish laundry." A bit meant 3 hours of chaos, wiping faces, refilling sippy cups, and calming crying toddlers while she sat in the recliner, talking about how stressful her job was. One afternoon she said, "You're so good with them, James. You should come by every afternoon. I'll make you dinner." Her idea of dinner was usually cold pizza or leftover chicken nuggets. I told her I couldn't commit to that, but she kept guilt-tripping me, saying, "You're family. Family helps each other." My dad started repeating it too, and I felt cornered. Things got worse when Sharon decided she wanted to expand her business. Apparently, 6 kids weren't enough chaos. She took in 2 more, 10 and 11 years old, and promised their mom she would help with homework and provide meals. The problem is that Sharon can barely handle second-grade math, and when homework time came, she'd text me saying things like, "James, little Hunter needs help with decimals. Can you come by for a bit?" Or, "Liam scraped his knee. Can you grab Band-Aids from Walgreens?" She didn't even drive half the time because she said it stressed her out. At one point, I sat down and did the math. She was charging about $250 per kid, per week. That's $1,500 in cash every week, tax-free. And yet she constantly complained about being broke, saying things like, "I spend it all on snacks and art supplies. while buying new candles in Starbucks every other day. Meanwhile, she expected me to do all the heavy lifting for free because, according to her, you're not doing it for money, you're doing it because you care. Then came the breaking point. One Thursday afternoon, she called me at work, practically screaming into the phone. One of the toddlers had a fever, and she said she needed to go to Walgreens for medicine, but couldn't leave the other kids alone. She wanted me to leave my job, drive to her place, and babysit for just an hour. I told her I couldn't. I had an emergency HVAC call that day. She started yelling, saying, "You're selfish, James. How can you let a child suffer? You're abandoning innocent children." I told her to call the parents, and she said she couldn't reach them. I said that wasn't my problem, and she hung up. Later that evening, my dad called me and said I made Sharon cry. He said I should have helped her because family always steps up. I asked him who was stepping up for me when I was spending my evenings cleaning up after other people's kids for free. He didn't have an answer. He just sighed and said I was being ungrateful. That was the first time I truly got angry with him. I told him I was tired of being used. He hung up. A week later, things hit rock bottom. I was home on a Saturday morning just trying to relax when there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Sharon, with 3 of the kids standing behind her. She said, "Their mom's running late. Can they stay here for a while? You're so good with them." I said through the door, "No, Sharon, I'm not doing this anymore." She started banging on the door, saying I was heartless, that I was turning away children in need. I didn't open it. She finally left, but a few minutes later I got a string of texts calling me cruel and ungrateful. That was the moment I was done. I texted both her and my dad and said, "I'm not your backup childcare, I'm not your handyman, and I'm not your errand boy. You chose to take on that responsibility for money. It's not my problem." Sharon sent a long message about how I was abandoning family, and Dad told me I should apologize. I didn't. I blocked her number. Now the family is divided. My dad thinks I overreacted and says Sharon's just trying her best. My sister Emily says I should have recorded Sharon trying to dump kids at my door so people could see how insane it's gotten. My aunt called me last night and said, "You're the only sane one in that house," which was oddly comforting. But apparently Sharon has been telling everyone in the family that I abandoned her and the kids, like I was some kind of legal guardian who shirked his duties. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to help my stepmother with the kids she took in for money when she expected me to do all the work for free? I did not expect this whole thing to blow up the way it did, but oh boy, it did. After I put my foot down and stopped helping, Sharon went full passive-aggressive on social media. It started subtly with little inspirational quotes about toxic family members and how the ones you help the most are always the first to walk away. Then it escalated into outright guilt-tripping posts. She'd write things like, "Some people only help when there's money involved." Sad. And real family doesn't need to be asked twice. She didn't mention me by name, but everyone who knew her knew who she was talking about. My aunt even sent me screenshots with a laughing emoji saying, "She's really losing it." I ignored it. At first because I figured it would blow over once she realized that without my free labor, her whole business was going to crash. Spoiler, it did. Apparently, one of the moms who paid Sharon found out just how bad things had gotten. Sharon had advertised herself as this attentive, loving caregiver who provided structured activities, healthy snacks, and homework help. In reality, her activities were turning on Disney Plus and scrolling Facebook Marketplace for manifestation decor. She would post photos of kids coloring or playing outside, pretending they were part of her educational program. But those moments were just random times when someone else had cleaned up enough for her to take a picture. The real disaster came when Sharon decided she deserved a break. One afternoon, she told the parents she was running to get groceries, but instead of waiting for one of them to pick up early or arranging coverage, she left the kids with her teenage niece, who was 15 and had zero experience handling toddlers. Sharon was gone for 4 hours. 4 hours. The niece apparently spent most of the time on her phone while the kids ran wild. One of the moms came early to pick up her 2 kids and found the chaos in full swing. Juice on the carpet, one kid crying because another hit him with a toy, and no adult supervision except for a panicked teenager trying to bribe the toddlers with gummy bears. The mom was furious. She confronted Sharon later that day, and Sharon tried to spin it as a miscommunication. But the mom didn't buy it. She pulled her kids out immediately, and within a few days, word spread through the parent group chats that Sharon's daycare was basically a mess waiting to happen. It turns out moms talk, and when one mom posted a warning in a local Facebook group about Sharon being unreliable and unprofessional, other parents chimed in. One said her child came home with an allergic rash from a snack Sharon had given, even after being told it wasn't safe. Another said Sharon often canceled last minute, claiming she was sick or had errands, even though she'd been seen at Starbucks that same day. Within 2 weeks, Sharon went from having 8 kids to 2, and the 2 who stayed were the ones whose parents didn't really have another option. I'll admit, there was a small part of me that felt bad for my dad, not for Sharon. He had been so proud that she was building something and that she finally found her purpose. Watching it all collapse must have been humiliating for him. But instead of holding her accountable, my dad did what he always does. He enabled her. He started giving her money to keep the business afloat. She told him it was temporary, that she just needed a little help until she rebuilt her client base. My dad is retired and living off a modest pension, but he's always had a soft spot for women in distress, and Sharon knows exactly how to play that card. She'd sniffle and talk about how people don't appreciate hard work anymore, and my dad would melt. When I found out, I tried to talk to him. I told him he was just funding her laziness. I reminded him that she was the one getting paid to watch those kids, not me, and that her business wasn't failing because of bad luck. It was failing because she didn't actually work. He told me I didn't understand what it meant to support a partner. I told him I did understand. I just didn't confuse enabling with love. That conversation went downhill fast. He accused me of being negative and said I sounded jealous. Jealous. Of what exactly? Spending all day with screaming toddlers while scrolling through conspiracy theories on Facebook. Living in a house that smells like spilled apple juice and forgotten diaper bags. Jealous of microwaved chicken nuggets and naptime chaos? I couldn't believe he said it. I remember sitting there thinking, is this man seriously implying that I'm envious of Sharon's disaster circus? But he was serious. He told me I was bitter because Sharon had figured out how to live on her own terms. According to him, she was a free spirit who just needed understanding. In his mind, my refusal to keep bailing her out made me cold-hearted. It didn't matter that she was draining his pension while sitting on the couch complaining about bad clients. I stopped arguing because there's no point debating logic with someone who's in too deep. My dad thinks love means blind loyalty. He's convinced Sharon's just going through a rough patch, when in reality she's the architect of her own disaster. Every time I stop by the house now, she gives me that smug look like she's the victim and I'm the villain. She still posts her little quotes online about fake family and people who only show up when it benefits them, as if I haven't been the one cleaning up her mess for over a year. Meanwhile, my dad keeps paying her, and she keeps promising to get back on her feet. She even made a new flyer that says, "Personalized childcare with love," complete with a Canva logo and stock photos of smiling kids that definitely aren't hers. I know it's only a matter of time before it all collapses again, but I'm done. I've learned my lesson. I'm not stepping in to rescue her, and I'm not rescuing my dad from his own choices either. Because what is there to be jealous of? Sticky fingers and snotty noses? So apparently Sharon decided that her business setback was just a sign to rebrand. That's right. The woman who could barely keep 6 toddlers alive under one roof without calling me for help thought she could just slap a new name on the mess and call it a fresh start. She created a brand new Facebook page called Loving Hands Childcare, complete with pastel-colored logos, heart emojis, and captions, about building a nurturing community for busy parents. It would have been laughable if it weren't so ridiculous. The real kicker came when I saw the photos she used. At first glance, they looked vaguely familiar. Kids sitting on a blanket in the park, one of them smiling at the camera while holding a juice box. It took me about 3 seconds to realize that one of those kids was my niece, my sister Emily's 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Sharon had literally taken photos from my dad's Facebook page, pictures Emily had posted of Lily playing in their backyard, and used them in her ads to make it look like she had happy children in her care. She even captioned one of them, "Little Lily loves art time at Loving Hands," as if she had personally supervised that moment. When Emily found out, she went nuclear. She called me first, furious, saying she couldn't believe Sharon had the nerve to use her daughter's image without permission. I told her to handle it directly because if I got involved, it would turn into another circus with my dad defending Sharon like she was some helpless saint. So Emily called Sharon and told her to take everything down immediately or she would report her for false advertising and unauthorized use of a minor's photo. Sharon didn't take it well. According to Emily, she started yelling that Emily was ruining her livelihood and that she just needed a little support from family. Emily told her she didn't care about her livelihood and that she was exploiting children for marketing. Instead of quietly deleting the photos and apologizing, Sharon doubled down. She made this dramatic Facebook post about being betrayed by family and how jealousy can destroy small businesses. She didn't name Emily directly, but it didn't take a detective to figure out who she was talking about. Of course, Emily wasn't about to let that slide. She went into full scorched earth mode. She took screenshots of Sharon's new Loving Hands childcare page, circled the photos of Lily, and posted them in a local mom group, along with a detailed explanation of what had happened. She wrote that Sharon had used pictures of her daughter without permission, pretended they were her clients, and was trying to relaunch after being reported for leaving kids unsupervised. That post blew up like wildfire. Parents in the group started commenting immediately. Some recognized Sharon's name from her old ad. The comments were brutal. People wrote things like, "Isn't this the woman who left kids with strangers? And she tried to watch my nephew once. Total disaster." One mom said she had interviewed Sharon months earlier and walked out after 5 minutes because Sharon couldn't answer basic questions about safety protocols. Another said Sharon's house smelled like sour milk and Lysol. Within hours, her reputation was shredded to pieces. By that evening, Sharon's page had more angry comments than followers. People were tagging friends, warning them to avoid at all costs. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash that you knew was coming but couldn't stop. Within 24 hours, the entire Loving Hands childcare page disappeared. She deleted everything, the posts, the photos, even the business profile itself. It was like she was trying to erase the evidence, but the internet never forgets. Screenshots were everywhere. Of course, Sharon didn't take any accountability. In her mind, it was all my fault. She started calling my dad crying, saying that I had turned the family against her, and that Emily wouldn't have gone after her if I hadn't poisoned her mind. According to her, all of this, the business collapse, the Facebook backlash, the financial strain, was because I had refused to help a little. Apparently, my failure to play unpaid handyman and babysitter was the butterfly effect that ruined her empire of microwaved pizza rolls and Disney Plus marathons. My dad, as usual, took the bait. He called me with that tired voice he always uses when he's about to guilt trip me and said that Sharon was under so much stress and that I should be more understanding. He said, "You're her only son," like I somehow owed her loyalty because she married my father. I had to remind him, "I'm your son. She's a 43-year-old adult who made bad choices." He didn't like that answer. Last week was the grand finale of Sharon's Little Angels home care, the unlicensed daycare she swore was her calling. My aunt called to tell me that county inspectors had shown up after multiple complaints from parents. Some even sent proof of Sharon's fake ads using other people's kids' photos. When the inspectors asked for her license, she had nothing. By the end of the visit, she was fined over $2,000 and told she could never run childcare from her home again. They even made her take down that ridiculous hand-painted sign. That night, she called me sobbing, saying I'd ruined her life. I told her flat out she did that all by herself. I didn't feel guilty, just done. A few days later, my dad called to apologize. He admitted he'd believed Sharon's excuses because he wanted to think she was trying. He said he was embarrassed now that the neighborhood knew what really happened. Hearing that felt surreal. My dad never admits he's wrong, but it also felt like closure. Now Sharon's back on Facebook posting her trademark "fake family will betray you" quotes, acting like she's the victim. But when I drove past their house, the sign was gone. The yard was quiet, And for the first time in years, I felt peaceful. No kids crying, no chaos, just silence. I didn't celebrate her downfall, but seeing that empty space where her business used to be, it finally felt like freedom.